Do not empty your bank account because of a headline. I mean that. Because right now, a clip of the most powerful man in finance is being twisted into the worst advice on the internet, and XRP and XLM holders are the ones being targeted with it. Here's what actually happened. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, the biggest money manager on the planet, said that leaving your cash sitting in a bank is one of the worst financial decisions of a lifetime. And within hours, that turned into something he never said. Empty your account, go all in on XRP and XLM right now, before it's too late. So let me be the one person today who actually stops and tells you the truth. That is not what he said. And in this exact market, with the Fed about to make a move that hits risk assets hard, rushing in like that could genuinely burn you. But now here's the part nobody is telling the XRP and XLM crowd, and this is the part that actually matters. While everyone is busy arguing about Fink and screaming about your bank account, the real giants, the ones who quietly move trillions of dollars, are already building on these two networks, not tweeting about it. Building. DTCC, the company that settles almost every stock trade in America. Franklin Templeton, BlackRock's own tokenization push. All of it happening right now while XRP and XLM sit near multi-year lows and nobody's clapping. So today, we do what almost no one else will. We separate the panic from the real story. No hype, no empty your account nonsense. Just what's actually being built and how a calm, smart holder should be thinking about it. Let's get into it. Quick and important note. This is not financial advice, and I'm not telling you to buy or sell anything. Especially, I am not telling you to pull money out of your bank. Any scenario I mention is an opinion, not a promise. Protect your family first, do your own research, and never let anyone rush you into a money decision, including me. All right, let's get into it. So let's start by fixing the record, because the distortion here is genuinely dangerous. Here's the real quote. At a big finance conference, Larry Fink said that keeping your money sitting in a bank account, earning almost nothing, is one of the worst financial decisions of a lifetime. And you know what? On its own, that's not a crazy thing to say. His actual point was about the long game. Over decades, wages have not kept up with the growth of assets. So if all your money just sits in cash for 30 years, inflation quietly eats it and you fall behind people who own things that grow. That's it. That's the argument. It's a long-term point about owning assets instead of holding only cash. Now watch what the internet did with it. It took own assets for the long term and twisted it into run to your bank, pull everything out, and dump it into crypto today. And let me be blunt because I care more about your money than your clicks. Those two things are not the same. They're not even close. Fink never told you to drain your emergency fund. He never said go all in on any single coin. He never said do it this week. In fact, the man runs the biggest asset manager on earth, and his whole philosophy is slow, diversified, long-term ownership. The exact opposite of panic buying because a YouTuber told you to. So why does this distortion spread so fast? Simple. Fear and urgency get clicks. Empty your account now is a lot more exciting than own quality assets patiently over decades. But exciting and true are not the same thing. And the people who act on the exciting version are usually the ones who get hurt. So here's the honest question that nobody pushing the panic wants you to ask. If you did dump everything into risk assets right this second, what would actually happen in this specific market? Because the timing part is where this gets really interesting, and it's the part they completely skip. Let me show you. All right, let me give you the piece the panic crowd conveniently leaves out, because it completely changes the picture. Right now, the US Federal Reserve is not cutting interest rates. If anything, the pressure is the other way. Because of stubborn inflation, partly tied to energy and tensions overseas, a lot of serious forecasters now think there's a real chance, better than half, that the Fed actually raises rates at its September meeting. Raises, not cuts. Now, why does that matter to you as a crypto holder? Here's the simple version. When the Fed raises rates, the dollar tends to get stronger and money gets more expensive. And that is rough for risk assets. Things like high-flying tech stocks, and yes, crypto, XRP and XLM included. So think about how backwards the panic advice really is. Someone's telling you to yank your cash out and pile into risk assets at the exact moment the biggest force in global finance might be tightening the screws on risk assets. That's not bold. That's just bad timing dressed up as courage. And here's a little tell that exposes the whole thing. The same people screaming that a rate hike will crush AI stocks, so sell those, will turn around and tell you to go all in on crypto. But a rate hike doesn't politely skip crypto. If it pressures risk assets, it pressures crypto too, at least in the short term. You can't have it both ways. Now, I'm not telling you this to scare you the other direction. That would make me just as bad as them. The point is simpler. Short-term timing is a coin flip, and nobody, not me, not Fink, not the loudest guy on your feed, knows exactly what the market does next month. So if the smart move isn't to panic buy, and it isn't to panic sell either, then what is worth paying attention to? Here's the answer. You stop staring at the price for a second, and you look at what's actually being built, because that's where the real XRP and XLM story is hiding. Let me show you. Okay, let's get to the good part, the stuff that actually matters for the long game, not the next candle. Forget the price for a minute and look at the plumbing. On the XRP side, a few very real things are happening all at once. First, Ripple's own regulated stablecoin, its digital dollar, keeps growing on the XRP ledger. That's real usage, real liquidity moving onto the network. Second, XRP spot ETFs exist now on regulated US exchanges, and they've pulled in over $1 billion, even in a rough, sleepy market. And third, and this one's big, earlier this year, the two main US regulators actually classified XRP as a digital commodity. Years of legal fog starting to lift. Put those together, and here's what you get. XRP is no longer fighting just to survive. It's quietly getting plugged into the regulated financial system. ETFs for the money, a stablecoin for the utility, and a clearer legal status underneath both. Now, does any of that mean the price rockets tomorrow? No, and I'll keep saying that in every single video, because it's the truth. The price is beaten down, the mood is grim, and none of this building shows up on the chart yet. But that's kind of the point. The building never shows up on the chart first. It shows up in the quiet, while everyone's distracted by drama like a twisted Larry Fink quote. So that's XRP. But here's something the panic video got half right and then completely wasted. It mentioned XLM. Threw the name out there for hype and never told you why it actually belongs in this conversation. So let me do the thing they wouldn't. Let me give XLM its real due. And honestly, this part surprised even me. So let's talk about Stellar, the network behind XLM, because the real story here is a lot bigger than most people realize. Here's the headline fact. DTCC, and if you don't know that name, you need to. It's the company that quietly settles almost every single stock trade in the United States, the actual backbone of Wall Street, chose Stellar as the first public blockchain to connect to its new tokenized securities platform. Read that again. The plumbing of American finance picked Stellar to help move real securities onto a blockchain. And it's not alone. Franklin Templeton, a firm that manages trillions, runs a tokenized fund on Stellar. Circle, MoneyGram, and others are building there too. Add it all up, and there's somewhere around $2 to $3 billion in real-world assets, things like tokenized funds and treasuries already living on that network. That's not a promise about the future. That's on chain right now. Quick pause because I really want to know. Before this video, did you have any idea DTCC and Franklin Templeton were already building on Stellar? Just type yes or no in the comments. I'm genuinely curious because this is the stuff that gets buried under all the panic headlines, and I think it's exactly what you should actually know about. Now here's where I stay honest with you because that's the whole deal on this channel. All of that institutional adoption has not made the XLM price fly. XLM is still down massively from its old highs, and there's a real ongoing debate about whether the network's success will ever fully translate into the token's value, especially with a large supply still held by the foundation. So this is not me telling you XLM is a guaranteed winner. It absolutely is not. It's me telling you the network is doing serious, real business, while the token trades like nobody noticed. Whether those two things ever reconnect, nobody knows for sure. So step back and look at the pattern across both XRP and XLM, two networks built for the same quiet idea, compliance, institutions, real-world plumbing, both getting adopted by giants, both trading near multi-year lows. And that right there is the actual story. Not empty your bank account, this. So let me tie it together and tell you what I'd actually do with all of it. So let's bring it all the way home, calmly, like adults who want to still be in this game in 5 years. First, the honest summary. Larry Fink made a long-term point about owning assets, and the internet weaponized it into empty your account and gamble. Meanwhile, the Fed might actually be tightening, which is a short-term headwind for pretty much everything risky, crypto included. And underneath all of that noise, XRP and XLM are quietly being wired into the real financial system by some of the biggest institutions on the planet. Those three things are all true at the same time. That's the full picture, not the scary half of it. So, what do you actually do with that? Here's my honest take. And it's not exciting, which is exactly why it's probably right. You don't empty your bank account. You don't go all in because a stranger online lit a fire under you. You never ever put in money your family needs to live. Please. That rule is not negotiable. What you can do is understand the cycle you're in. Bear markets are quiet, they're painful, and they're usually when the real building happens. If you believe in this stuff for the long haul, you can accumulate slowly, carefully, with money you can genuinely afford to set aside and forget about. And if you're not sure, that's completely fine too. Doing nothing while you learn is a real, valid, and often smart position. There's no countdown clock forcing your hand, no matter who tells you there is. Because here's the truth the fear merchants will never say out loud. If XRP and XLM really are being built into the future of finance, then that story plays out over years. It does not require you to panic on a Tuesday. And if it doesn't play out, then panicking in was the worst thing you could have done anyway. Either way, calm wins. So the next time someone shoves a scary headline in your face and tells you to move right now, remember this video. Take a breath. Ask what's actually being built. And protect yourself first. Always. This has been Crypto with BHW. We're early. The foundation is being poured, and I'll see you in the very next one.